Alright, hello everyone. This is Paul from SpanishWithPaul.com, and in this episode, we're going to continue building upon the theme of last week's lesson, where we looked at the easiest way to begin using the subjunctive correctly in your Spanish, even if you're still a beginner. So this week, I'm going to show you how to use it when talking with other people in everyday conversation, and I'll also give you two more important phrases that trigger it. So that's all coming up next. If you'd like to get a free account on Spanish with Paul and access private lessons that are not on YouTube, simply click the link that you see on the screen right now and sign up for your free account. I've also put that same link in the description box below this video. You can also subscribe to my channel to get a brand new lesson from me every single Monday. So with all that said, let's get started. Last week, we saw how three phrases can trigger the subjunctive. Those were espero que, no creo que, and dudo que. All three of those phrases lead us into the sound of tenga, which of course stands for I have in the subjunctive. The nice thing is if we simply add an S to that sound, we get tengas. Now, tengas will stand for you have in the subjunctive. And just as before, not only will it cover you have, but also you will have. So what we'll do now is multiply the power of what we learned from last week. For example, how would you say, I hope I have? Espero que tenga. Now, if you wanted to express I hope you have or I hope that you have, either way, it would be espero que tengas. So putting them side by side, you can see that when expressing you have in the subjunctive, all we do is add an S to the sound. So the key sound becomes tengas. Do you remember the word for enough? Suficiente. Now, how would you say, I hope you have enough? Espero que tengas suficiente. What's the word for time? Tiempo. Now say, I hope you'll have enough time. Espero que tengas suficiente tiempo. What about I doubt you'll have enough time? Dudo que tengas suficiente tiempo. I don't think you'll have enough time. No creo que tengas suficiente tiempo. Let's try something shorter. I don't think you have enough. No creo que tengas suficiente. How do you express for everyone? Para todos. Now say, I hope you have enough for everyone. Espero que tengas suficiente para todos. The verb to finish is terminar. So 3 syllables. Terminar. Terminar. And to express to finish it, you simply take that sound and add on the pronoun of lo to the end of it. So to finish it becomes terminarlo. How would you say in order to finish it? Para terminarlo. Now, just as before, whenever we need to use the word para, meaning in order to, I will underline that in the phrase. For example, if we wanted to say, I hope you'll have enough time to finish it, you can see that this too implies in order to finish it, and this is where you will need to use para. So how would you say that? Espero que tengas suficiente tiempo para terminarlo. What about I don't think you'll have enough time to finish it? No creo que tengas suficiente tiempo para terminarlo. Do you remember how to say the chance to or the opportunity to? La oportunidad de. Another verb we had from last week was to visit. Can you remember that? Visitar. Now to express to visit me, just as before, you will add on the pronoun of me to the end of the verb. So the sound becomes visitarme. Let's try to use all of that together. How would you say, I hope you'll have the chance to visit me? Espero que tengas la oportunidad de visitarme. The word for week, meaning 1 week, would be semana. Semana. And to express next week, you would literally say in Spanish the next week, which would be la próxima semana. How would you say, I hope you'll have the chance to visit me next week? Espero que tengas la oportunidad de visitarme la próxima semana. How do you say to do it? Hacerlo. And what's the word for later? Más tarde. Now say, I hope you'll have the chance to do it later. Espero que tengas la oportunidad de hacerlo más tarde. What about, I doubt you'll have the chance to do it later? Dudo que tengas la oportunidad de hacerlo más tarde. What about this one? I doubt you'll have the chance to visit me. Dudo que tengas la oportunidad de visitarme. To express good day, it would be buen día. To extend that a little and say a good day, it would simply be un buen día. This expression in Spanish will also stand for a nice day. Un buen día. How would you say, I hope you have a nice day? Espero que tengas un buen día. A trip in Spanish is un viaje. Let's break the syllables down. So you have B, A, G. Notice the strong B sound over the V and this H over the J. So again we have viaje, un viaje. To express a good trip would be just the same as before. So un buen viaje. In fact, we can put them side by side. So you have un buen día and also un buen viaje. How would you say, I hope you have a good trip? Espero que tengas un buen viaje. What's the word for money? Dinero. And how would you say to buy it? Comprarlo. So here we have the verb comprar, to buy, and simply tagging on the pronoun of lo for it. So to buy it, comprarlo. Now say, I don't think you have enough money to buy it. No creo que tengas suficiente dinero para comprarlo. Another word we had from last week was the answer. Do you remember what that was? La respuesta. And how would you say the right answer? La respuesta correcta. So literally saying the correct answer. So how would you say this? I hope you'll have the right answer. Espero que tengas la respuesta correcta. To express by tomorrow, you literally say for tomorrow, either way, so it would be para mañana. Let's use it. I doubt you'll have an answer by tomorrow. Dudo que tengas una respuesta para mañana. I'd like to introduce something new, which is the sound for you should. This in Spanish is deberías. Going through the syllables, we have deberías. Deberías. Now this behaves as a modal verb, meaning that after the sound of deberías, you can pretty much add any full verb you like. For example, what's the verb to do? Hacer. To do it. Hacerlo. Now to express you should do it, it would simply be deberías hacerlo. What's the verb to buy? Comprar. To buy it. Comprarlo. Now say you should buy it. Deberías comprarlo. The verb to study is estudiar. Estudiar. And the word for more is simply más. So how would you say you should study more? Deberías estudiar más. The verb to travel is viajar. Let's look at the syllables again. So we have viajar. Viajar. How would you say you should travel more? Deberías viajar más. So let's put it all together. To express every time or each time in Spanish is cada vez que. Literally, each time that. Cada vez que. And this phrase will also trigger the subjunctive. So, for example, how would you say every time you have? Cada vez que tengas. How would you say every time you have the opportunity to? Cada vez que tengas la oportunidad de. Do you remember the verb to travel? Viajar. Now, how would you say every time you have the opportunity to travel? Cada vez que tengas la oportunidad de viajar, you should do it. Deberías hacerlo. Now, all on one slide. Every time you have the opportunity to travel, you should do it. Cada vez que tengas la oportunidad de viajar, deberías hacerlo. Let's break this one down. So, as always, we build things step by step, one building block on top of the other. So, every time, or every time that, cada vez que. Now, that phrase triggers the subjunctive, so we must go into the sound of tengas for you have. Cada vez que tengas. The opportunity to could also be the chance to. La oportunidad de. And then the verb to travel, viajar. So, cada vez que tengas la oportunidad de viajar, you should, sound is deberías, and then do it, hacerlo. Deberías hacerlo. Whenever we get these longer sentences, this is what you should do. Pause the video if you need more time and simply break it down, putting one block on top of the other. Do you remember the verb to study? Estudiar. Now say, every time you have the chance to study, you should do it. Cada vez que tengas la oportunidad de estudiar, deberías hacerlo. To ask, meaning to ask a question, in Spanish is preguntar. Preguntar. How would you say you should ask? Deberías preguntar. Now the word for a question is very closely connected. It's simply una pregunta. So putting them both on one slide, we have preguntar, to ask, but una pregunta is a question. Literally, all you're doing is getting rid of this R from the verb. Let's use it. How would you say each time you have a question? Cada vez que tengas una pregunta, you should ask. Deberías preguntar. To extend this into you should ask me, we would simply take the verb of preguntar and add on the pronoun of me. So we have to ask me, preguntarme. Let's use it. How would you say, each time you have a question, you should ask me? Cada vez que tengas una pregunta, deberías preguntarme. Do you remember the verb for to say or to tell? Decir. And how would you say to tell me? Decirme. So again, all we did was take the verb decir and add on the pronoun of me. So, decirme, to tell me. Now say, you should tell me. Deberías decirme. The word for a problem is very, very similar to English. It's simply un problema. We take the word of problem and simply add an a onto the end of it. Notice that this noun is classified as masculine, so it's never una problema, it's always un problema. How would you say every time you have a problem? Cada vez que tengas un problema, you should tell me. Deberías decirme. Now let's put it on one slide. So every time you have a problem, you should tell me. Cada vez que tengas un problema, deberías decirme. The verb to help is ayudar. So the syllables are I, you, dar. Ayudar. How would you say each time you have the chance to help, you should do it? Cada vez que tengas la oportunidad de ayudar, deberías hacerlo. So let's add that new trigger to our list. So far we have espero que, I hope, no creo que, I don't believe or I don't think, dudo que, for I doubt, and now cada vez que, each time or every time that. All of these phrases trigger the subjunctive in Spanish that leads us into the sound of either tenga for I have or tengas for you have. To finish off this lesson, I'd like to now add a fifth phrase that triggers the subjunctive. And that is the phrase that is used for the word whenever. This in Spanish is siempre que. In a literal sense, it doesn't make much sense because siempre means always and que means that. So what you are literally saying in Spanish is always that. However, it carries the meaning of whenever in English. So siempre que. How would you say whenever you have a problem? Siempre que tengas un problema. You should tell me. Deberías decirme. Now let's put it on one slide. So whenever you have a problem, you should tell me. Siempre que tengas un problema, deberías decirme. The word for a moment in Spanish is a very nice sounding word. It's un momento. Un momento. Let's use it. Whenever you have a moment, you should do it. Siempre que tengas un momento, deberías hacerlo. Siempre que tengas la oportunidad, deberías hacerlo. Do you remember the word for a question? Una pregunta. And what about the verb to ask? Preguntar. Now say, whenever you have a question, you should ask me. Siempre que tengas una pregunta, deberías preguntarme. What about if we switch the order around and say, you should ask me whenever you have a question? Deberías preguntarme siempre que tengas una pregunta. So there you have it. These are 5 common triggers for the subjunctive, and we put them on one slide with espero que, no creo que, dudo que, cada vez que, and siempre que. So these last 2 are our new ones, meaning each time or every time, and whenever. All of these phrases trigger the subjunctive into the sound of tenga or tengas for I have or you have. And I think that once again you are seeing how the subjunctive is present in even the most basic of phrases in Spanish, which of course is why we need to start using it at an early stage. This way it can become completely automatic later on. So that's it for this week. Remember to sign up for your free account on Spanish with Paul by clicking the link you see on the screen right now or the one that I've put in the description box below this video. I look forward to seeing you all again next Monday.